Welcome to a special episode of Where the Stones Have a Story to Tell. Earlier this year, we did 6 episodes at this site, the Snake Cave site, breaking down, decoding, and reconstructing an ancient annual ritual. Along the way, we figured out that that was done on the winter solstice, December 21st, every single year. So, we're going to take, for the winter solstice event today, that 6 episodes and break it down into 6 minutes. Ancient Native Americans believed that they were a part of the cosmos, not a separate worshiper of spirits per se. They had a place in the cosmos, and that place was to create balance. They created balance through rituals like this. What they would do is bring in spirits that they thought were germane, relevant, important to a particular day of the year, particular event, particular balance point of the cosmos. It very often started in a structure just like this, a basin and a drain. So the first spirit they would call in for this ceremony is the water spirit. Starting it off with pouring water into that basin, and it would pour out at a particular location. It just so happens that that water pours out directly in line with the next spot in the procession. Let's go check that out. We're at the second station here, and this station will give us some insight as to what part of the year this ritual is being performed. This is the head of a 90-foot snake effigy, a straight row that will go right up the hill. It actually points to the third stop, which is a cave. So serpents were a spirit that were considered underworld spirits. Upper world, middle world, where we are, and underworld. So this is now telling us that this is a ceremony in relationship to the underworld. Let's head up to that cave, but along the way we're going to find a stop that's very important in the actual decoding of the day of the year, this ceremony. Now when we talk about ancient Native American structures, we have to believe that moving this much stone came with great passion and intent. Well, it just so happens I am standing in the dead center of this effigy. There happens to be an embedded boulder here and an embedded boulder here. Well, you know what? Why don't we just put a flag here and we'll figure out how this goes to the decoding of the ritual as we hit the next few stops. As we proceed up the snake effigy, we'll go over a ridge down to the location of 2 side-by-side caves. Very important in this ritual. We've come to the cave section of this event, and I'm going to have to introduce you, if you haven't already in other episodes, to the concept of a portal. A portal for Native Americans was a way, a nexus between the underworld, middle world, upper world, middle world, and vice versa. It's how spirits came and went. In other researches in New England, we've actually seen this exact configuration. It's a dual cave location with one right to my left. I'm guessing, given the type of gap here in the stones deep inside this cave and a little ledge built on top of it, this particular cave was used as the portal to bring the underworld spirit to the ceremony. The next cave over, as we've seen in other research, was used to hold the underworld spirit. Well, after all the effort of calling forth the underworld spirit, you wouldn't want it just wandering off. And in fact, channeling the energy of spirits was also part of the whole procession. They would actually go out of their way to block other spirits from unintentionally joining in. But if you go through all the effort to bring the underworld spirit in, move the underworld spirit over to a cave without a portal and hold it there for a while, you have to ask yourself, what are you waiting for? Well, the first 2 spirits, water spirit and serpent spirit, they're helper spirits. In this type of event, we can now discern, since we're bringing in the underworld spirit, that this is a fall or winter type of ceremony that is intended to create the balance that occurs in the winter with the sun becoming less and less prominent in the sky. This is a ceremony to couple the sun spirit with the underworld spirit and send them to the underworld. It's a very common type of ceremony in Native American lore. The underworld spirit would be called the host spirit. The sun spirit's the guest spirit. So we've got to go find ourselves the location of the sun spirit. Let's head this way. We are back on a ridgeline that bisects the caves where we just came from and the snake effigy and water effigy. It's in this location where this structure, a giant crack in boulders on the top of this ridgeline, are filled with smaller stones, and this placed essentially like a niche, like a portal. This line of stones points directly to the next location of this ceremony. That's an enclosure where the central portion of this ceremony is going to take place. But how did we know the sun spirit was going to come here? And how did we know what day of the year it was? Well, the details of this line and the orientation tell us everything. For a second, let's check into the details. All right, we are high atop this outcropping, and what we've got here is the niche here, it's the back of it, and this split boulder cairn. It was here that where I thought this originally was going to be a fall equinox event, for reasons I'll explain in the next few stops. Turns out I was wrong. As we look into the Sunseeker app, we can see that the line of my hand here is exactly along the line to sunset on the winter solstice. But here, on sunrise of the winter solstice, do we have a marker? Well, that flag we placed down there a little while ago, that's where the sun rises on the winter solstice. That center point of the serpent effigy, built around those embedded boulders, is exactly the point over which the sun rises that morning. So we've got ourselves a winter solstice ceremony. We have our sun spirit here, the guest spirit, our underworld spirit, the host spirit, water and serpent as helper spirits. So the next stop is an underworld portal to send the sun spirit and the underworld spirit down for the winter. Let's go check that out. Exactly in the line with this split boulder cairn on the way to sunset on the winter solstice. Let's go. That line from the last location created by the split boulder cairn pointing to sunset on the winter solstice leads us right here. This is where the main ceremony occurred, and it is called an enclosure. But it has to have a portal, doesn't it? Well, there are various types of portals, so let's check this one out. This structure, a labyrinth made of gigantic boulders, would have served as an enclosure. That's where shaman would gather spirits for a variety of rituals. It's a very common structure. However, in this little recessed area is likely the portal that a shaman would have used sending spirits to the underworld. It's perfectly set up for the purpose of this ritual. So now that we've sent the sun spirit and the underworld spirit off in the main ceremony, we have to account for our last two helper spirits. So off to the next station. Well, we've sent the sun spirit and the underworld spirit off for the winter, but we still have the helper spirits to address. Hopefully you can recognize this as a niche. Niches played a variety of roles in the spirituality here. One was that it could be a portal to and from the underworld, but it would have to have some particular features, one of which is an L-shaped structure attached to it. Let's see if this is where they left off the serpent spirit. So we're going to move around the right side of this top stone, which would be referred to as a lintel stone for a niche, and we're going to be looking for that L shape, which would have been considered a portal to the underworld. Tully is going to hopefully hop out of our way here in a second so we can get a close-up look at this right side of this stone here. That would have been the top stone and also an L-shaped structure. So that is consistent with the research, at least with what could have been a portal to the underworld and where the serpent spirit could have gone. But we're going to head right over that ledge and see if we can find the last spot. So I'm overlooking about a 20-foot ledge. If you can notice, there are leaves on the tree. I lost the file, got corrupted for this last scene, so I have to use the one from the prior video. But there are a couple areas here that are carved out to the right on this ledge, and I believe that this would have been used to redeposit the water spirit. There's a little drainage area, if you will, off that ledge. That's a wetland, and right across and through that area is a direct line to those caves that we saw a while ago. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour of what could have been and has all the elements of an ancient sun ritual conducted on the winter solstice, something very in keeping with ancient Native American ceremonialism. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.